Yo, what is up, everybody? This is Jay the Green. Welcome back to another reaction video here today. And today we got a special video that I'm looking very forward to by the very knowledgeable anime expert Swagkage. Check out the video I'm reacting to down below if you want to see the original video. Check out Swagkage. He's a beast. He's one of the most knowledgeable people on YouTube when it comes to anime. He's an expert. But today we're going to be reacting to his video ranking the Akatsuki from weakest to strongest. The Akatsuki, in my opinion, are all at or above Hokage level. I'm not going to get too much into it. Let's get straight to the video. But if you're new and you enjoy the content, please think about showing some love. Any love is greatly appreciated. Hit that like button, hit that bell button to stay up to date with yours truly, and hit that sub button to become part of the family. Because once you do, you're part of it forever. But let's not waste any more time. Screen. Let's get straight to it.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video, where I'm going to be doing a request that I've gotten a lot more than I ever expected to when I started this channel, and that is ranking the members of the Akatsuki from strongest to weakest. Though, despite the way I wrote the title, I'm actually going to be doing it in the reverse order, so I'm going to be ranking them from weakest to strongest, starting from the bottom and working up from there. Now, keep in mind, going into this video, that there's no real foolproof, objective way to organize these guys in terms of how strong they are. Another thing to keep in mind is that power scaling Naruto characters is a bit difficult because there's a lot more to it than how hard they hit and what they're capable of blowing up. So obviously I'm not going to be ranking these characters based on their physical strength alone. I'm going to be taking a whole lot of things into consideration here. And these guys are essentially going to be ordered based on who I think is capable of winning a fight against everybody placed beneath them. I know there's no way I'm going to be able to please everybody with this video. No matter how I rank the Akatsuki members, somebody's going to get pissed off, but that's unavoidable. Yeah. I'm just gonna do my best and hope you guys enjoy the video. So without further ado, let's just get started. So first up, we have Zetsu at the bottom of the list. No surprise here, I don't really need to explain myself. Even in the series' earlier days when his origins hadn't been revealed, it was still pretty clear that Zetsu wasn't meant to be taken too seriously as a fighter, and that he worked as the organization's intel guy. He just gathered information and didn't really do much fighting himself. Now, that isn't to say that he's completely irrelevant. Zetsu, or at least one half of him anyway, should be given loads of credit for essentially creating the Akatsuki and successfully convincing all of his founders and leaders and anybody else he deemed necessary to follow his cause and unknowingly help him revive Kaguya. If you want to put Zetsu at the top of this list just because he's an extension of Kaguya's will, then I guess by
to get this one, because yeah, this is a weird one. The Zetsu, the Zetsu, basically the child of Kaguya before she got killed by her sons way back when in the past of ancient ninja history. But by himself, I agree, he's the weakest. And Swagkage made a good point. You could put him at the top, basically, because he is a part of Kaguya. He's nowhere near as strong as Kaguya is, and he does get stronger when he binds to someone like Obito. When he binded to Obito, because his half of his body was fucking crushed in the war when he was still with the leaf, But yeah, I agree. He by himself right now, just Zetsu by himself is the weakest out of the Akatsuki. I agree.
By all means do that. But since this guy was seriously afraid that Kakashi and Minato could both kill him in like 2 seconds, and further taking into account that this Minato didn't have both of his arms, it's pretty safe to say that Zetsu's not all that tough. Moving on, up next we have Hidan, and while Hidan is probably the most physically gifted member of the Akatsuki, just because he's immortal and he can't die unless he starves to death, most people agree that his showings aren't really that impressive, and he's easily the least intimidating member.
I actually didn't know that he could starve to death.
If Kakazu hadn't been with him in the battle against Asuma, Shikamaru, Kotetsu, and Izumo, that would have been it for him. After Asuma decapitated him, he would have been done for. Not to mention he got dispatched pretty easily by Shikamaru, and granted this was a Shikamaru with loads of prep time, but all it took to kill this guy were a couple paper bombs. Well, okay, a lot more than a couple of paper bombs, but nowhere near as many as the 600 billion Konin attempted to use to kill Tobi. And while Hidan's ritual jutsu is pretty scary, and not something that most characters in the Naruto world would want to go up against, anybody quick enough to dodge
one of the coolest jutsus, I think. I like his jutsu.
I think I can say pretty safely that if any of the other Akatsuki members, aside from Zetsu, were to go up against Hidan with full intel, they would be able to get rid of him pretty quickly. Coming up next, we have Konin, the paper girl herself. herself, a possible suspect for the origami killer from Heavy Rain. A lot of people are probably going to be mad at me for putting Conan this low on the list, and
I'm not.
it's not
I agree.
that Conan's weak, it's just that she doesn't have the feats or really the hype either to put her above any other member of the Akatsuki. I also think it's really important to keep in mind when talking about how strong Conan is in relation to other members of the Akatsuki that the only reason she's a member of the organization in the first place is because she was a friend of Nagato and Yahiko. Every other member of the Akatsuki was recruited based on how powerful they were and the skill set they possessed. Not Conan though. She just got in because she was a friend of the leader, or former leader I guess. I'm not really sure whether it's Nagato or Obito. Regardless, Conan is still incredibly powerful, especially with prep time, as she was able to create a literal sea of paper bombs made up of 600 billion of them, like I mentioned earlier, which would have been more than enough to kill Obito if not for the fact that he had Izanagi. Now, many people have said that based on the little scuffle that Obito and Conan had before she opened up this sea of paper bombs, she's actually stronger than him even without prep time, but that's not necessarily true. I think the only reason she did so well against Obito in the opening moments of their fight is because Obito underestimated her, as he himself admits, since if he wanted to, he could have just phased through all of her attacks. She isn't Obito level, but she does have plenty of other feats and abilities.
I agree.
She's capable of teleporting by turning her body into paper. She was capable of tanking a point-blank fireball jutsu from Jiraiya by coating herself in her paper. She's capable of suffocating people by coating their bodies in paper. She's capable of flying by manifesting paper wings. She can create deadly solid paper spears, and she can even create shuriken made from paper that work just as well as metal shuriken do. Now, all of that said, none of this puts her above anybody aside from Hidan and Zetsu, but again, not because Conan is weak, just because all of the other Akatsuki members are so absurdly strong. Now, this is where things get really tricky.
Now, just to give my thoughts on this, I'm not going to keep pausing it, but I have to give my thoughts on Conan. Alright, I've seen in forums, I've seen pages, on social media that people think she's like borderline the strongest in the Akatsuki, things like that. I don't think she beats anyone in a fight besides obviously Zetsu and probably Hidan. Straight up, no prep time, right? No prep time. One-on-one, right there and then in the moment. I don't think she beats Deidara. I don't think she beats Kisame. Definitely not Itachi or Pain. Definitely not Obito. Sasori, these other dudes. I don't think she beats any of them one-on-one. She might give a couple of them a good fight like Deidara. That'd be a good fight, I think. They're similar. They're long range. Deidara with his clay, her with her paper bombs. That'd be a good fight to see. With their paper bombs or paper jutsu, all that. But yeah, I agree. She belongs here. We didn't see much of her anyway, so there's not a lot to go off of, like Swagkage said. So far, I agree. Let's continue.
Initially had Deidara placed a little bit higher on this list, and I know plenty of people are going to be really mad at me for putting
so we got
this
Deidara
low,
next
but
up.
again, keep in mind that the people who are in the lower half of this list aren't here because they're weak, but just because everybody else is so damn powerful. So, okay, here's the biggest thing. From this point forward, a lot of the differences in ability between each subsequent member of the Akatsuki, it's going to be really small and difficult to notice. Like, Deidara is not very far behind the person who's above him, and that person's not very far behind the person above them, and so on and so forth. Anyway, Deidara is an absolute monster. Like, really, this guy's no joke. He was fast enough to keep up with the Swagkage in a battle in the sky, and both of them were moving so fast that an experienced Jonin watching from the ground couldn't tell what was going on. He was fast enough to avoid plenty of Gaara's sand attacks, quick enough to create and replace his own body with a clay clone before a QB-enhanced Naruto could land a hit on him. Fast enough to avoid a blitz from Sasuke. And this is important because this same Sasuke, when he wasn't powered up by having absorbed Orochimaru, blitzed all of Team 7, including Naruto, Sai, Sakura, and Yamato, and none of them were prepared for it. His left eye is capable of seeing through genjutsu. He has a ridiculously versatile arsenal thanks to his C clay variants, including C1, which he uses to create various animals out of clay, C2, in which he creates a gigantic flying explosive dragon, C3, which was so powerful it nearly blew up the entire sand village, C4, which destroys the bodies of his enemies on a cellular level, and C0, which is his self-destruct move that created an explosion comparable in size to a Jubi blast. There is no joke at all, and I feel really bad about putting him this low on the list. I mean, really, this guy's a freak of nature. He's had both of his arms ripped off before and didn't really seem to care when it happened. He had Toby lay out an entire minefield, then fell on his own landmines and survived, and he doesn't even have to use clay to perform his his explosive jutsu. In his battle with Gaara, he just used Gaara's sand instead, so that way he didn't have to use up any more of his clay unnecessarily. I would love to say that there's something holding Datara back and keeping him this low on the list, but really there isn't. Everybody else on this list is just so insanely powerful. So next up after Datara, we fittingly have Sasori of the Red Sand, the strongest puppet master in the entire series. And now, I'm sure plenty of people are going to be like,
what? Sasori's fodder? Why is he so high on the list? He's not stronger than Conan or Gabe.
Okay, look. Here's a panel of Datara literally saying Sasori is stronger than him. Datara is so prideful that he literally killed himself because he was so pissed off that he couldn't beat Sasuke. I'm pretty sure Datara was telling the truth here. And I don't think I really need to back the statement up for anybody who actually knows what Sasori is capable of. Like, yeah, he lost to Sakura and an old lady.
He's fodder, but like...
No, Sasori is a powerhouse. One of the scariest fighters for anybody in the verse to go up against. Sasori has insta-kill poison that was only stopped by an antidote created specifically to counter it. 298 puppets at his disposal. A puppet body that gives him incredible versatility in both close and long-range combat. The third Kazekage puppet, literally made from that Kazekage's body, capable of using all of his abilities, including the legendary Iron Sand. The Haruko shell, which on its own was able to deal with Kankuro with little difficulty. And apparently he took down an entire country with his performance of 100 puppets jutsu. Which isn't surprising. I mean, even if you take out the puppets, you still have Sasori's insanely powerful puppet body to deal with. And you might think, well, you can just blow Sasori up. But no! Sakura punched him to pieces and he just built himself again. It's like what Kakazu did when Hidan got his head chopped off, except Sasori was able to do it himself. And for anybody who really thinks that Sasori truly lost to Sakura and Chiyo, first of all, Chiyo says that he let himself get hit by the final attack. Second of all, Chiyo had like the 10 strongest puppets ever created. Shikamatsu's 10 puppets, created by the first puppet master ever, which by themselves were capable of taking out an entire castle. Chiyo also knew everything about him, including all of his abilities and weaknesses. Once again, they had an antidote specifically created to counter the effects of Sasori's poison. I mean, once again, the only reason Sasori isn't any higher on the list is because everybody above him is just so nonsensically strong. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to add, when Sasori's brought back with Edo Tensei, he uses his puppet strings to control living people. I mean, there's really no stopping this guy. He's absolutely out of control. Now, I initially had Kakazu way lower on...
Before I continue, I have to speak about Sasori, alright? The only reason he lost to Sakura, let's be honest, and Chiyo, one, they had an antidote. Two, Chiyo was basically his teacher or something like that from watching the series, you know, the anime. And three, let's be honest, Sakura has plot armor. They're really going to kill her off. You know, the soon-to-be Sasuke lover, who now she is in Boruto, but let's be honest. All those things were in Sasori's enemy's favor. Sakura has plot armor. She had an antidote. Chiyo, who's another master puppet master, you know, was there, and he gave himself up at the end. He's like, I'm done here. Let them kill. He basically let them win, you know. Yeah, I agree though. I agree, but I kind of wish we saw more of him. He's a monster. You know, the 100 puppet jutsu was amazing. He just has some really cool stuff. The poison was so OP at first. It was beast. He's a beast. I agree.
On this list, he was beneath both Sasori and Datara. But then I went back, read through some manga chapters that had him in it just to brush up on him real quick. And remember that Kakazu is, like, it's stupid how strong this guy is, dude. The first thing that everybody brings up when talking about how strong Kakazu is that he allegedly survived a fight with the first Hokage. And the third data book confirms this. I mean, the data books are a little bit shaky in terms of credibility because they also claim that Heavy Sasuke is stronger than every member of the Akatsuki. But still, it says that after Kakazu failed on his mission to kill Hashirama, he was tortured. Because he didn't really like his punishment that much, he stole the hearts of the village elders and then became whatever it is he is today. Now, even despite the fact that he has 5 hearts and can't be killed unless all of these hearts are destroyed, playing Kakazu is, I mean, like, reading through these manga chapters, I was stunned by how powerful he was. You know, this big old gate guarding this temple, Kakazu just punches it down. He and Hidan are staring down the Two Tails Maruta Matatabi. The Two Tails brings up its claw and prepares to hit both of them with it, and Kakazu just catches it with both of his hands like it's no big deal. Matatabi then proceeds to fire a tailed beast bomb at both of them point blank, and obviously Hidan survives, but Kakazu does too, with no damage, I guess. Kakazu also, like, blew up this gigantic chunk of the ground by just punching Shikamaru. He has this area of effect attack that may as well have blown up the entire forest that he was fighting Team Kakashi in. His tentacles have an insane range. His hearts are capable of flying through the air. He has access to all 5 basic nature transformations. He has a long-ranged form that gives him access to even more chakra, and after he took a Rasen Shuriken point blank to the face, he still survived for a couple seconds after that, long enough to say some final words. He doesn't have as many feats as Sasori or Deidara, but I think it's safe to say that he's more powerful than the two of them by a slight margin. Now that we've gotten into the top 4, it gets a little ridiculous. Up next we have Kisame. Now, Kisame, I don't want to say that he's that much more powerful than Kakazu is, but I mean, based on showings, I'll just go ahead and start running through what this guy has done before, because oh my god. So with a 30% water clone, he forced Guy to open up the 6th gate, and was able to keep the rest of Team Guy, that being Neji, Jonin, Rock Lee, and Tenten, all trapped within water prisons. Water prisons created by water clones, created by his 30% clone, were able to keep all of Team Guy except for Guy in water prisons. And then, even while he was funneling chakra into those clones, Guy still had to open up the 6th gate to beat his 30% clone. And then even without his sword,
tons of chakra.
Kisame was giving 7th gate Guy a pretty solid run for his money. And that's not even mentioning the fact that Kisame absolutely destroyed B. The same B that went to town on not just Sasuke, but all of Team Taka. B was touted as the strongest Jinchuriki in the whole world, and Kisame made really short work.
Hard to kill that guy.
The only reason he ended up losing it all was because Samehada decided it didn't want to be loyal to him anymore. Yeah, wanted to start working for B.
No loyalty.
He also created this gigantic floating ocean of water that travels with him as he moves. I mean, if this doesn't all sell you on him, people call him the tailed beast without a tail. That should be just about all you need to know about this guy. Now, because Orochimaru was temporarily a member of the Akatsuki, I'm going to give him an honorable mention and just say this is where I think he would go. I don't want to spend too much time talking about how strong Orochimaru is, but, you know, he mastered Edo Tensei, was able to press Hiruzen, fought pretty evenly with 4-tailed version 2 Naruto while severely weakened, and has a whole bunch of other crazy feats. He's also comparable to Jiraiya, who Kisame was pretty terrified
stronger than Jiraiya
of fighting, and I mean, he's overall just a really strong ninja. But yeah, moving on to actual
we can all
number
agree, right?
3.
He's stronger than
Kisame,
Jiraiya. And
Itachi. I mean, Itachi really speaks for himself, you know, Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, Susanoo, Yadamir, Totsuka Blade, exploding shadow clones, crazy fast hand signs, absolutely annihilated Kakashi with pretty much no effort whatsoever, was able to react to Kirin, fought hand-to-hand evenly with KCM Naruto, fought Sage Kabuto alongside Sasuke, and was instrumental in ending the 4th Shinobi World War. Really, nothing needs to be said about him. I think the only things about Itachi that I'm really going to need to heavily discuss are things that involve why he was placed at number 3 and not number 1 or number 2. But yeah, I mean, this guy is a total legend.
I don't know if I agree with that one.
OP.
My thoughts after, though.
I need to go into detail. Now, above Itachi, we have Nagato or Pain, and once again, I think he speaks for himself, but also, like with Itachi, many people are going to be like, what? What's Nagato doing here? Why isn't he at number 1? Obviously, he's the strongest member of the Akatsuki, right? And, well, not necessarily, but he's still, I mean, it's Nagato, it's Pain, it's the guy with the Rinnegan. Like I said, I don't really think I have much explaining to do here. He has all of the Rinnegan's abilities, which, I mean, that includes the ability to rip people's souls straight from their bodies.
That Rinnegan is a god.
Use
the
Shinra Tensei,
pain,
Bansho Tenin, Chibaku Tensei, summon all of the animals available to the animal path, manifest mechanical limbs, fire laser beams, missiles, summon the King of Hell and insta-kill people, absorb ninjutsu, absorb chakra through direct contact. I mean, once you've watched Edo Itachi and Edo Nagato versus Naruto and B, it's kind of impossible not to acknowledge just how ludicrously strong Nagato is. You know, Naruto and B just proved that they were more powerful than Tsunade and the Raikage, and got permission to go headfirst into the war, and then Nagato just swooped right in and started dicking on them. And I mean, Obito even outright said that, yeah, Nagato's invincible. There's no one capable of taking this guy out. Then, finally, I think I have my most controversial placement on this list. At the very tippity top, we have Obito. And now I think if I was talking about Obito with the Rinnegan, a lot of people would agree with me, but I don't think that's exactly fair, because by the time Obito got the Rinnegan, the Akatsuki had fallen apart and all of its members were dead. Yeah. I am talking about single Sharingan Obito. And now many people might be like, excuse me? That Obito is nowhere near as strong as Nagato, but bear with me, because he would definitely win in a fight against him. The thing about Obito is, I mean, Kamui's just really hard to deal with. If Nagato decided to use Chibaku Tensei, all Obito
yellow
would have
mask
to do
and orange
is
mask
suck himself into Kamui, and then that would be that. So really, in a fight against him, Obito doesn't have anything to worry about as far as setting up his defenses goes. But the biggest thing is that many people forget about how powerful Obito actually is with just his one Sharingan, because he didn't use the chains after his fight with Minato. If he had been fighting anybody except for Minato, with both the Kyuubi and those chains at his disposal, the fight would have been over immediately. I think many people missed the point of the chains completely, but the point of them was Obito would charge at people and then catch them by surprise by slipping through them using Kamui, and afterwards, the chains he was carrying would catch them from behind. They would be too surprised to react, and Obito would be able to immediately turn around and suck them into the Kamui dimension, and that would be that. There's nothing anybody can do about it. Plus, Obito has this huge reserve of spare Sharingan just lying around, so he's capable of using Izanagi.
From the death of all the Uchiha clan
cells,
that him and Itachi did.
Plus, his durability is, I mean, it's really a sight to behold. After having his heart impaled, becoming the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails, and then having the Jubi forcibly ripped out of him, casting the Rinne Tensei Jutsu, being taken over by Zetsu, having his mind assaulted by Madara, having the Rinnegan ripped out of him, and using his Mangekyo Sharingan in an attempt to synchronize his Kamui with Kaguya's dimensional portals, Obito was still standing and did not collapse from exhaustion and die. Yeah, I don't think any more needs to be said.
Alright. There you guys have it right there. So, these are my thoughts here, alright? My thoughts here. The top three is very close, but I do agree Obito should be number one, alright? I'll definitely say it's not, he's not far and away number one. But, we got Yellow Mask Obito, right?
Grammarly can help you.
Sorry about that. We got Yellow Mask Obito when he's a kid, when he beats Minato. That version, okay, is very impressive because he didn't beat Minato. Well, he did kill Minato with the Nine Tails, right? With the help of the Nine Tails, which he put under Genjutsu, obviously with his Sharingan. That Kamui, man, is such a pain to deal with. The only way to really deal with it is to have either Kakashi's eye, which was Obito's eye, clearly, the Sharingan, or have the speed relative to Minato, because Minato was able to catch him, slip it, with that Rasengan, as you saw in the video. Now, if I were to put that version with the Kyuubi, with the chains, like Swagkage said, against Prime, let's say Prime Itachi, it would be a good fight. That's all I have to say. It'd be a good fight, but I think Itachi would have a tough time with Kamui. It'd be hard to catch him. And obviously the guy's quick because he was able to stand toe-to-toe with Minato. And I don't think Itachi, even in his prime, is as quick as Minato. Alright. So I think Obito takes the dub. And against Nagato, let's say he has a 6 pass of pain. Let's say he's at his best, they're not going to be able to hit him, just like Itachi, because they're Kamui. And obviously with the Nine Tails, if he has the Nine Tails and the chains, yeah, it's going to be a tough time for the 6 pass of pain. So I think he would take that one. Both those fights would be not easy, but he'd take them mid to high difficulty. Now, second place is very close. I disagree with Swagkage. I actually thought Itachi was number 2 in his prime. Sick Itachi, I think he'd have a very, very tough time beating Nagato, the 6 pass of pain, because of all, they're basically infinite field of view, having, linked eyes, basically, because of Nagato. Having all the renegade abilities, the ability to take your soul, the ability to absorb ninjutsu, the ability to do all these things. It'd be very tough for a sick Itachi to beat that. He does have a genjutsu, but I don't know how that would work exactly with a Nagato being the host of all the 6 pass of pain. I'm sure the second one of them gets in genjutsu, the other would snap that one out of it. So a Sekitachi, I think, wouldn't have the durability. Prime Itachi, I think he would do better. He'd be more durable, and obviously he has the Tosuke blade and the Susanoo, and he has the shield, the impenetrable shield. I forgot what it was called. Excuse me. But that's something he could use. I know it's not omnidirectional, but it's definitely gonna help. I don't know if he's able to suck more than one, life form in with the Tosuke blade. If he can, then the six paths of pain better watch out. They better not be together at once because he could suck them all in as GG. That would be a very tough fight. It'd be very close. But I think I'd give it to Itachi. High difficulty, very very tough. I think Pain can win that one too. So the top three, I agree, except for one. I would switch 2 and 3. When it comes to the middle, like the middle ranks, we got Kisame, we got Kakazu, we got Deidara, we got Sasori. That's very, very close as well. So the top three are close, and I'd say the next four are very close as well. I think I agree. I think Kisame is the fourth strongest. He just has so much chakra reserves. He has all kinds of jutsus. He's basically a tailed beast. He's a Jinchuriki without tailed beast in him. He's semi Jinchuriki. He's a monster. I mean, he beat B. Guy's a beast, but his fucking sword had no loyalty. So he just betrayed him and went to fucking beat. These hoes ain't loyal. These hoes ain't loyal. But yeah, I agree with Samahara. That guy's a beast, man. He probably would have killed B. Probably would have killed him. But I agree with that one. I think after that was Kakazu, right? Kakazu was just Sasori, man. I think that'd be a very interesting battle because that poison is something. What if he catches all his hearts with the poison? Right? What if he catches all Kakazu slipping? He beats him. The 100 Puppets Jutsu, the third rate Kage puppet, like all these things, that'd be a very good fight. But because it's so close, I'm going to agree with Swagkage's list. Like I said, there's no objective list, there's no objective way, there's no perfect list. And then the bottom tier, at Conan, Hidan, and Zetsu. I agree with that. I don't think Hidan would beat Conan because she's very mobile, very long range. I don't think he'd be able to catch her. Yeah, I think she'd get a win somehow. She'd figure something out. So I agree with the list. Overall, Swagkage made a very good list, man. I agree completely. Well, not completely, but you know what I mean. I agree mostly. And like I said, he's one of the best on the tube. I know Seth the Programmer made another one recently, ranking the Akatsuki, and he had a similar list. I think he actually had Zetsu at the top. I agree with that as well. It depends how you're looking at Zetsu. But yeah, guys, that's my video. This is my thoughts on the video, my reaction to the video. Shout out to Swagkage, he's a beast. Congrats on 1 mil. I think he reached 1 million subscribers recently. I really mess with his content, man. If there's any videos you want me to react to by him or anybody else, or any kind of video, really, let me know in the comments or anywhere else. But yeah, man, that's gonna wrap it up. I love you all, and this is J3A signing out with another video. Catch you in the next one. Peace.